Alright, they stepped out of the hallway and into a hallway that looked rather familiar. Metal grate stretched from wall to wall. Beyond it were 2 elevators and the entrance to the kitchen. They had entered the kitchen from one door and came out the other. It meant their map of the ship's interior was accurate. They laid the map in front of them and began to discuss their next step. There were 4 possible routes. A, B, C, and D. First, A and B. A and B both seemed to connect to an L-shaped room. However, the 2 doors that led to the room were both locked and could not be opened. Next route was C. This goes all the way to the main staircase. That means it's door 5. That means it's door 5, one of the numbered doors. Then, do you think we'd meet up with the other 4 after this hallway? No, I don't think we will. Why not? Look. There by the stairs. See how the gate is opened? When we went into the kitchen, it was closed. But it's open now. What do you think that means? They opened it. Most likely. If we take Route C, we're going backwards. That would be pointless. Then that means we have to go down the fucking stairs. They all look at the map. They look at the staircase. It's a lazy curve leading down deeper into the ship. Route D, then. D it is. I don't know why we had to discuss that so thoroughly. Then we're set. They jogged down the stairs until they reached the C deck. Just to be sure, they kept going to check the deck beneath. Yeah, just like I thought. Deck D is totally underwater. Just like the bottom of the central staircase. The water gazed back at them, its smooth surface like a great mirror. As ominous as it was, Junpei took at least some comfort from the fact that the level hadn't gone up much since the last time he'd seen it. They turned back to C deck. It didn't take them long to find 2 elevators in front of the staircase. They looked identical to the elevators on the top floor with one exception. These elevators had a card reader on the wall between them. Interesting. On the card reader was a strange mark. Hey look, it's Lotus's symbol. Huh? See, it's the woman's symbol with a thorn on it. It seems like... What the hell? Ouch! Ouch, 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 ouch. Lotus had taken hold of Junpei's hair. She began to shake him violently, and he thought he heard a low growl coming from her throat. Such violence! Junpei began to wonder if she was not the devil itself. With an uncomfortable smile, June spoke up. This is a Mercury symbol. The thorn symbolizes the wings on Hermes' staff. Hermes, herpes, whatever. If we can't get this thing to work, these elevators aren't going anywhere. In other words, we need a key card with the Mercury symbol on it. Probably. They gave up on the elevator and returned to the stairs. Hallway stretched out to the left. Well, fuck. Great many doors lined both sides of the hallway. They weren't sure how many, but enough to be discouraging. Damn it, if we try to search all these, the sun's gonna go down before we've done half of them. I think the sun is already set. I have a feeling this ship is the only thing that's going to be going down anytime soon. That's even worse. Well, we can come back to this hallway later. Let's check the hallway on the other side, shall we? Frustration and fear building, they walked back to the stairs. To their right was a small hallway. Quickly, they headed into it. It was approximately the same size as the alcove in the front of the stairs. The hallway led toward the stern and at its end was a set of double doors. Let's open it. Junpei nodded and grabbed one closest to him. He gave it a small tug and felt it move. It was unlocked. The thrill to have found an unlocked door. He threw it open. Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw. What? It's a hospital. And there are more numbers. He simply stood, unable to speak. The others simply stared open-mouthed. After a few long moments, Santa managed to speak. What the hell is this? A massive room stretched out in front of them, more a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on the four companions. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds. They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses. Is this a hospital? He had at least been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room. The room swam with a harsh, biting smell of antiseptic. In the center of the room were shelves stacked with medicine and a number of medical devices, the function of which Junpei did not know. More importantly, however, on the back wall of the room were 4 doors. 3 of them were emblazoned with large single-digit numbers, made with thick red paint. The door on the left was labeled 3. The second door from the left had no number, but the third had been given a 7, and the rightmost door had an 8. There could be no doubt. They were numbered doors. It did strike Junpei as strange, however, that the door between 3 and 7 should be blank. What, he wondered, could this mean? Let's take a look at the doors. Yes, that sounds like a good plan. Junpei headed toward the doors, weaving his way between the beds. He started with the door 3 on the left and moved to the one until he reached the one on the right. It's no use. Well, of course. If it was that easy to open these doors, what would be the point of the nonary game? We have to activate the red or the numbered doors won't. Wait a minute. What's wrong? Look, the display on the red. There's nothing on it. Huh? Don't you remember the red at the central staircase? If no one was inside, it said vacant. Oh yeah, you're right. But this one, there's nothing on it. Right. I wonder if it's broken. Only one way to find out. It didn't respond. All 4 took turns placing their hands over the red, but it refused to respond. They pulled the lever, it still did nothing. As soon as they discovered it wasn't the only red for door 8 that was behaving strangely. The red for door 7 was also refused to respond, and door 3 was similarly silent. None of them would respond. What did it mean? Huh, I knew it. They're broken. 0 sure sucks at maintenance. No, that's impossible. You really think 0, who prepared all this, would make such a stupid, simple mistake? Maybe, but that doesn't explain why this thing ain't working. It was at that moment they heard a faint voice from behind them. I believe the bottom of the device has been removed. They spun around to see. Hello, friends! Snake! But it was more than just Snake. Ace, Clover, and 7 quickly filed into the room as well. Although they were glad to see one another, it wasn't terribly surprising that they had. If it had been the other party who had opened the gate in front of the kitchen, it wasn't unreasonable that they'd bump into one another eventually. The rest of Snake's team, however, did look rather surprised. How'd you end up here? After a moment of silence and surprise, everyone suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through and how they'd ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the 9th man. No, thought Junpei, perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The 9th man had died, but they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought, the joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the 9th man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive. There you have it, our half of the story. His part finished, Ace fell silent. For a moment, Junpei was silent in thought. Then he spoke. Okay, let me see if I got this straight. When you guys got here, the bases for the Reds were already gone. And you looked all over this room, but you couldn't find anything? So you figured there might be something in the hallway with all the doors. So you went and had a look? Yeah. While you were looking around, you heard voices? Uh-huh. So you followed the voices and came back here? Indeed. And that was how we found you. Junpei examined the 3 Reds again, just in case. On the bottom of each one, a long, thin gap. It looked like a slot for something. Probably something electronic. Well, this isn't good. If the Red is inactive, we can't keep going. Well, what about the hallway over there? Isn't there anywhere else we can go? No, there isn't. There are plenty more hospital rooms, but nothing else. Hospital rooms? That's what's behind all those doors? Yes. There are a number of individual rooms in addition to this large one. There was a door at the end of the hallway, but it was locked. There was an astrological symbol engraved near the keyhole, however. I was able to get a good feel of it. Believe it was the symbol of Jupiter. Not again. Those goddamn things are everywhere. I wonder what they all mean. For a moment, everyone was silent, deep in thought. While we're asking what things mean, what's the deal with this room? I mean, I thought this was a cruise ship, but I can't imagine a cruise ship would have a hospital like this. Of all people, it was Seven who answered, and with calm confidence. Well, I figure it's probably a hospital ship. Chances are it's the Gigantic. The Gigantic? Junpei looked confused. So did everyone else. What is this Gigantic? Seven knit his brows for a moment, then began to explain. The Gigantic. He explained that she had been a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. That would explain why it's similar to the Titanic. The Titanic had 2 sister ships who were identical to one another in nearly every aspect. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. She was initially intended to be a passenger liner like the Titanic, but soon after the ship was launched, the First World War began, and she was pressed into duty by the British Navy as a hospital ship. Sometime later, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She managed to run aground after the incident, consequently was not sunk. What then happened to the Gigantic after her fateful encounter in the Aegean Sea? One theory ran that a man named Lord Gordain purchased her. Lord Gordain, it seemed, had been one of the few survivors of the Titanic tragedy, and that trauma had turned him into an obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. As his obsession deepened, he began to desire the Titanic himself. That, of course, was impossible. The Titanic lay at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The Gigantic, however, had not suffered such a dire fate, and as she was identical to her sister ship, she caught Lord Gordain's eye. So you're saying this Lord Gordain bought this ship? Yeah. At least I think I am. That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old. Pipe down, just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof? Proof? Proof that the ship is really the Gigantic. Well, the ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic in a hospital ship, so I just figured. Oh, for goodness, don't tell me that's your only reason. No, I've got more. Like? Well, I mean... Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's perceived stare. He scratched his head for a moment, then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth. I don't know. Lotus sighed and shook her head. I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it? Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, wait a minute. Memory isn't back. Junpei was, he felt, legitimately shocked by what seemed to be new and very important information. Everyone else, however, seemed unimpressed. In fact, they all looked at Junpei as though he had said something very strange. He decided to revise his attitude for the next question. Wait, was I the only one that didn't know? Everyone nodded. Why? Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you, huh? I told the rest of them before we ran into you on the stairs. I told him I couldn't remember a damn thing from before I woke up. What? Then, almost as if to save Junpei from further embarrassment, a bell began to ring from far away. Sounded as though it was a clock at the main stairwell. Junpei counted each chime carefully. It's midnight. Then we've still got 6 hours left, right? We don't have any time to screw around. Let's get going. We gotta find the missing parts for the Reds. What do you mean, find? How on earth do you propose we do that? We've looked everywhere in this room. That only leaves one place to look. One? Well, I guess it's not really right. Wait! Don't tell me you mean we need to search all of the other rooms. Don't freak out. We already searched 4 of them. 4 rooms. We just have to split up the rest between the 8 of us. If each person does 6 rooms, that'll be 48 rooms, right? So there's 48 rooms left? Her earlier experiences had apparently not encouraged Lotus to trust 7. 7 scratched his head awkwardly. I don't know. After a little more discussion, they split up and headed toward the rooms to begin searching them. Junpei was chosen to search the rooms in the starboard side, moving from fore to aft. They also determined when they would return to report their findings, the next time the clock sounded the time. Really? You're taking an hour to search? When it did, they would meet back in the large central room full of beds. If during their search any one of them were to locate the missing components, they would yell for the others. If this strategy failed, they'd return to discuss their options later. The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out into the hallways they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However,